All right, everybody, how's it going this fine Sunday afternoon? We had a great stream earlier this afternoon. Had about 150 people in there at one point. A lot of people wanted to talk about the game. People wanted to talk about where this team is headed, what this team is going to do next. A lot of people talking about the cuts. A lot of people had good questions. A lot of people had good discussion points. So, a lot of fun. We're definitely going to keep doing those after every game this season and probably other times during the week as well. But now we have to switch gears and start really thinking about how we're going to put this team's final roster together because we got some very difficult decisions that we are about to have to make. And there's going to be a video on this channel tomorrow morning discussing exactly what I expect to happen. This chart on your screen right now is what I had it before last night's game. It's safe to say that last night's game did move me a little bit in a couple of areas, but we're going to get to the bulk of those changes tomorrow morning. But in this video, I want to talk about one specific position, and that is running back, because I think of all the positions that this team has difficult decisions to make at, running back might be the most interesting, compelling, and just all around. People have the most questions there. We have a lot of running backs on this team that people like, a lot of guys that people want to keep, and we have some difficult decisions to make here. So people are saying, are we going to cut Penny? Are we going to trade Penny? Are we going to trade Collins? Are we going to cut Homer? Is there any way to get Josh Johnson on the active roster? And it makes sense why people would be asking these questions. So I am going to discuss in this video a potential solution for keeping everybody and making sure that everybody is guaranteed to be on this team at the start of the season. Because there are valid reasons why all these guys belong and why all these guys can help us win. So here's how I would balance the roster so you can keep all five guys. So first, let's go over the five guys and go over why people want all five to stick around. Carson's obvious. I don't need to talk about Carson. Some people want Penny to stick around because he has talent and he might be able to fit in well with the new Shane Waldron offense. And it seems like he brings something to the table on those sweeps and those outside runs. So it does seem like there's some value there. Some people want to keep Penny for that reason. Some people want to keep Collins because he's good and he brings a lot of unique skill sets to the table. And he played really well last night, and he's clearly a player who is probably a little overqualified as a number 3 running back. So it makes sense why people would want to keep him. Some people want to keep DJ Dallas because he was the star of the offense through 2 preseason games probably. And he adds value as a special teamer. He seems like he's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. It just seems like he's improved a lot from last year. So some people want to keep him for that. And some people want to keep Travis Homer because he is an excellent blocker out of the backfield and in pass protection and also blocking in general. So 5 guys. Most teams don't keep 5 running backs. So a lot of the debate over the last, several weeks really, but especially since the end of the game last night is who is going to be the odd man out. And would you rather dump somebody who you can actually get trade value for, or would you rather dump someone who has no value? Some people are also throwing Josh Johnson in there, saying they want to try find a way to keep him, but I really don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. And I appreciate Josh Johnson's effort this preseason, but I didn't see anything over the top special. Maybe there's a way, but I seriously doubt it. And honestly, I think he looked good enough to where if we tried to put him on the practice squad, he would not stick. Somebody would pick him up. But anyway, so here's how you can keep all 5 of those running backs. And it involves this team getting a little creative, but they've shown in the past that they are willing to do that. So here's what you do. First, Lakiem Williams, sorry, brother. You're going to be out of here. You had a pretty decent preseason. Maybe you have a chance on the practice squad, but for now I'm going to move you over to the likely cuts. And Here's what you do. Nick Bellore, welcome to your new position at will linebacker, or, well, linebacker. Wherever you're needed, you're going to play as a linebacker in this defense. So, Nick Bellore played a lot of snaps at linebacker for us this preseason, and he was fine. I didn't notice any massive shortcomings in his game. He didn't do anything that made me think, oh, he clearly doesn't belong out there. This is a problem. So Nick Bellore moves to linebacker in a more permanent basis. Now, the nice thing is, Nick Bellore can still play fullback on the 10 to 15 snaps this season where you actually need a legit fullback. So keeping him on the defensive side of the depth chart does not preclude you from using him at fullback every now and then. And in this offense, or even in the offense we ran last year, you don't use your fullback very much at all. I went over it earlier this year. Bellore barely played fullback last year. So no problems there. And then, step 3, you take Travis Homer and you put him at fullback. I spoke a little bit earlier about how Travis Homer had bulked up a bit this offseason, added a lot of muscle, and it changed the way he wanted to play. He talked about how he wanted to play more physically because he likes that, and he wanted to be even more physical. So Homer gets to stay on the roster as a fullback, and again, the designation doesn't really matter that much because we weren't really planning on using fullbacks that often. But the point is, this allows you to keep all 5 running backs on the 53-man roster without going over the roster limit because you're just bumping Nick Bellore over to linebacker where he did play pretty well during the preseason. And again, just because they're listed these positions does not mean you can't use them at other positions. You can still put Bellore at fullback once or twice a game. There's no rule against it. And it's not like he's going to be playing 50 snaps a game on defense and he's going to be too tired. Hopefully he has to only play garbage time at linebacker this year. And Bellore's main value is as a special teamer, which will still be a thing even if he lines up at linebacker on the depth chart. So that would be one of the first ways I improve the state of this roster. I would move Nick Bellore to linebacker, move Homer to fullback, because again, these positional designations don't matter that much. And then you get to keep all 4 running backs plus Homer, and Bellore gets to stick around too and continue to do what his real value is. His real value is as a special teams player. And by the way, this gives you one more spot on the practice squad. So you could then, at that point, maybe say that Lakiem Williams gets moved back to the practice squad if you want to keep him around because he played decently this preseason. Maybe Hewitt, who had a pretty good preseason, maybe he gets a practice squad nod. Maybe John Reed because you just traded for him and you don't have a lot of cornerbacks on the practice squad right now. So this opens up additional opportunities to keep a player. So since we traded for him, let's say John Reed gets a final practice squad spot on this team for now. It could easily be a few other pieces, but let's say we go with that. So that helps you keep an additional player who you otherwise could not have kept and still keep the guys that you want on the active roster. And there's still some more to do on this roster, obviously. We have cuts to make. We have some decisions to make on these guys. We have practice squad decisions to make. There's a lot going on here, but this would be the first thing that I do to make the roster as good as it can be for 2021. So let me know what you think down below. Do you think Bellore can play linebacker nominally for maybe a game or two in the event of an injury? Like, let's say something happens to Wagner or Brooks and they miss a game or two. Can Bellore fill in? It seems like he did pretty well in those preseason games. Can Travis Homer nominally line up at fullback? Do you think that is something within his skill set? Does it even matter because we're not going to use fullbacks barely ever? Do you think that there are enough snaps for 5 running backs on this team? Would you do things differently? Let me know down below, but that would be my first move during this roster cut down. Just move over Bellore, move over Homer. You get to keep all these guys. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.